Hey everybody, welcome to the Debrief. I'm Devin Dwyer in Washington. Great to have you with us on this Monday. Happening now, hundreds of thousands of Americans expected back in the streets of San Juan, Puerto Rico, while they're demanding impeachment of the governor there and what he's saying this morning. Plus, that heat wave is finally breaking, but not without a line of storms. Where the flash flooding threat is this afternoon, and a huge announcement from Marvel Studios. What's next for fans of the Avengers? All that and more after your headlines.
Members of the Conservative Party in Great Britain have a couple hours left to vote in an election that will pick the next prime minister. Boris Johnson is expected to win and replace Theresa May on Wednesday.
8 people are injured after lightning hit a Florida beach on Sunday afternoon. The Clearwater Police Department says one person was hit directly and taken to a hospital in critical condition. Another was treated for burns.
Robert Mueller's congressional testimony is just 2 days away. Even though he said he won't speak beyond the findings in his report on the Russia investigation, Democrats say they want to present the facts to the American people and highlight what they're calling substantial evidence against the president. Republicans say any thought of impeachment is waning.
India now has a new mission to the moon. A rocket taking off this morning is carrying an unmanned probe that will touch down in September on the far side of the moon and then start looking around for water.
He was the inspiration for the show Law and Order. Now we're learning that longtime Manhattan DA Robert Morgenthau has died. ABC legal analyst Roy Lowe says Morgenthau oversaw some huge cases.
The DA's career spanned decades and legal eras, but many remember him most for his prosecution of the Central Park jogger case. After 5 defendants spent years behind bars, Morgenthau cleared them when DNA evidence proved their innocence.
Morgenthau served as Manhattan's DA from 1975 to 2009. He was 99 years old.
Well, more than 1 million Americans are expected to turn out today on the streets of Puerto Rico. It could be one of the island's biggest demonstrations ever. They're demanding the resignation of Governor Ricardo Rosselló. He announced overnight that he will not run for re-election, but he isn't stepping down, and now opponents are pushing ahead for impeachment. Our Victor Oquendo is live in San Juan, where demonstrators are already gathering. Victor, great to see you. Tell us what's happening right now, and how are people responding to those concessions by the governor?
Well, Devin, this is how they're responding. There are people as far as the eye can see protesting here. They're waving Puerto Rican flags. They're wearing their colors proudly. They have taken over. We're standing on the main highway here in San Juan, obviously now shut down because of all the traffic. But let me shut down, no traffic getting through here at all. And that's what you're seeing citywide. There was, I should say island-wide, because the organizers called for a work stoppage, a strike across the entire island to tell people to come out here and protest and rush. Right now, we can absolutely responded. This is one of the more impressive protests we've covered here. Last Wednesday, there were about 100 to 500,000 people out here. Today, it looks like we might hit that 1 million people mark. Let me bring in one of the protesters here. This is Angel Torres. Angel, you born and raised here on the island?
Here in the southeast of the U.S.
How many days have you been protesting now?
This is my third.
Your third day out here. Why is it so important for you to be out here?
They actually have belittled all Puerto Ricans in different ways, calling us a Macondo society. They called, even one guy said that more Puerto Ricans than face of. Those people don't represent us. How can somebody that really belittles his own country represent us?
Especially in those group chats that everyone has now seen. It's about more than those group chats. This frustration has been building for a while.
Well, corruption, and all this administration. That's it. That's the bottom line.
When do you stop protesting?
Well, when he gets out of here. When he gets out of here, most likely he's going to go to Virginia, where his father lives. That's it.
What would you like to see happen here on the island?
Well, decent government, better opportunity for people to study. For the youth that don't have the resources to compete with these guys that have the budget, which is easy to use the budget of this of the government to get your cronies government contracts and all the things that we learn and we know. And the country has roads, infrastructure, it's a mess.
There are certainly a lot of issues, especially ever since Hurricane Maria. But real quick, as you take a look out over this highway and you see nothing but a sea of protesters, what does that say about the spirit of the Puerto Rican people?
We have to be happy for Rico. So, you did a good job uniting the people.
We've heard that a few times today. Angel Torres, thank you very much for joining us here. So, Devin, that's just one of however many protesters are out here right now. I'm not kidding. It goes back as far as the eye can see. One more thing we should mention here, it's obviously pretty loud. That's just the spirit of the Puerto Rican people there. And they're out here in full force today. Devin?
All right, Victor Oquendo live for us in Puerto Rico. Thanks for that reporting, Victor. As Victor reported there with that protester, this is much more than those offensive comments from Governor Rosselló, which sparked these protests. It's about economic frustration. It's also about corruption in the government there. A lot of people angry simmering tensions over months erupting. I want to bring in someone who's familiar with that dynamic. Luis Miranda joins us on the phone. He's the father of Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course, of Broadway fame, also a longtime New York City official and Hispanic advisor, a native of Puerto Rico himself. Luis, thanks for joining us. Help our viewers understand what this is really all about. People who haven't been following this that closely, how significant is this this moment right now in Puerto Rican history?
You know, many in the United States learned when Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico almost 2 years ago on September 20th. That Puerto Ricans were American citizens and that Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. So many will not know why this is important. And again, as a Puerto Rican living in the diaspora for a very, very long time, Puerto Rico takes the lead here. It is not all progressives, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, the one who take the lead. Our job, as it has been historically, and since Maria hit Puerto Rico with support for dollars for Puerto Rico, our job is to augment the voices in the island, in Congress, in the United States, because at the end of the day, we can vote for the representatives who are going to decide how much dollars Puerto Rico gets as part of disaster relief. That's our job, to augment those voices in Puerto Rico.
And Luis, you know, a lot of people watching this may also be surprised about the talk of impeachment down on the island. There have been 8 U.S. governors who've been removed from office by impeachment in American history. Never before has it been used in Puerto Rico. How significant do you think that push is right now down there to get Rosselló out now?
As Ricardo Rosselló continues to say, in spite of the protest, in spite of the damage that he's causing to the island, last week, cruises did not stop in San Juan. Hundreds and hundreds of people were not able to visit San Juan and spend the dollars that Puerto Rico badly needs. So as he says over and over that he's not leaving, well, he said yesterday that he's not running for re-election. Everyone knew that. What he needs to do is resign now. So impeachment seems to be the next avenue in the Puerto Rico's constitution to follow the process. And today, a group of 3 jurists named by the legislature in Puerto Rico, by the House in Puerto Rico, are supposed to give the document to the legislature, to the House, just like in the United States. In Puerto Rico, it's the House who begins the impeachment procedure. They're supposed to get the document to see if there's enough evidence to begin an impeachment process against the governor.
Wow. So as thousands take the streets, the political process, impeachment underway as well. A dramatic day in San Juan and across Puerto Rico. Luis Miranda, thank you so much, political consultant, father of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and a native of Puerto Rico. Thanks for joining us. Turning now overseas in that escalating tension with Iran after the country seized that British tanker over the weekend. You see the commandos here dropping down dramatically. Today, that country announced that it has arrested more than a dozen suspected American spies. Our chief global affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz, has the latest.
Devin, Iran is accusing 17 Iranian nationals of spying on its nuclear facilities and meeting with CIA officers. In a press conference this morning in Tehran, they released documents and photos of men we can't really identify. They say the men were recruited online. Several have already been sentenced to death. This comes, of course, as new details from that seizure of a British tanker just a few days ago. Iran's Revolutionary Guard wanting a British oil tanker to turn around, but it was not the tanker crew that responded to the warnings from the Iranian. It was a British warship trying to stop the Iranian commandos from boarding the commercial tanker, the MV Stena. But within moments, there were Iranian fast boats swarming around the tanker, an Iranian helicopter swooping over the commercial ship, and the commandos rappelling onto the ship's deck, capturing the vessel and 23 crew members on board. An Iranian flag is now flying above the ship's bridge. Iran is claiming the British vessel violated international maritime laws, but they were all in international waters. The British government says the Iranians are actually retaliating for the UK's 4th of July seizure of an Iranian vessel they say was headed to Syria. Devin?
All right, our thanks to Martha. For more on this now, let's go over to the White House, where our White House correspondent Karen Travers is standing by. Karen, the president weighing in on this morning as well. He's disputing Iran's claims here.
He is, and in a tweet, of course, Devin, because that's where the president makes his policy statements. White House officials had not commented on the record on this, but the president says it is totally false. He says there is zero truth to this claim. He also said Iran is a total mess. This follows up the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, saying this morning, essentially, take this all with a grain of salt. Said the Iranian regime has a long history of lying. The president followed that up with his tweets then.
And tweeting on a lot of different fronts, it seems, this morning, Karen, from attacking the Federal Reserve to those 4 congressional Democrats that have been his targets lately, also taking on Robert Mueller on this huge week for his presidency.
Yeah, the president says that Mueller should not be allowed to have another bite at the apple. The president and his team for weeks since that report was first turned in have said that that's Robert Mueller's testimony. He spoke through that 400-plus page report, and he does not need to go up and testify on Capitol Hill. No surprise, Democrats disagree and want to ask him questions, even though Mueller has made it clear that he won't go beyond what he wrote in that report. The White House has said that Democrats are playing politics here. Devin, the president was asked last week, Friday, before he left the White House, if he was planning on watching Mueller's testimony. He says no, he's not going to be watching. I think we'll see if that ends up being the case. I highly doubt the president is going to be able to resist tuning in on Wednesday. Remember, in February, we were 12 hours ahead in Vietnam when Michael Cohen was testifying on Capitol Hill, and the president seemed to be up all night watching that testimony.
Yeah, I find it pretty hard to believe that he'll be resisting the testimony of Mueller on Wednesday for 5 hours. Karen Travers at the White House. Thanks a lot, Karen. And we'll have special coverage here all day on Wednesday on ABC News Live, starting at 8:30 a.m. as Robert Mueller, special counsel, appears before the House Intelligence Committee. He'll also be before the House Judiciary Committee, talking about obstruction, talking about alleged collusion and conspiracy. It'll be an epic, historic day on Capitol Hill. We'll have that here, wall-to-wall coverage starting at 8:30 Eastern time. Well, speaking of the president and Capitol Hill, the president and First Lady just moments ago made a trip up to the Supreme Court on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. They're paying respects today to the late Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. Stevens, of course, one of the longest serving justices on the court. He was appointed by a Republican president in 1975, later became an icon of the liberal wing of the court. He died last week at 99 years old. His body will lie in repose today at the court's Great Hall as hundreds of Americans turn out to say farewell. And you're seeing live picture there as mourners are entering that chamber. Well, the dangerous heat wave here in Washington and across the country is finally going to relinquish its grip later today, but not before dumping some seriously heavy rain and severe storms. Our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z, has the latest on that forecast. Hey, Ginger.
Devin, thank you. Yes, the heat is breaking, and so a lot of folks are very happy, but there's a price to pay, and that comes in the way of severe storms. We've already started paying it from about the Dakotas through the Great Lakes, but let me show you what's happening. So the heat was there for sure. We broke or tied records through the weekend from Atlantic City at 100 or JFK at 99 to LaGuardia's tie at 100 degrees Sunday. As far north as New Hampshire, Manchester hit 97 and broke a record. So watch that and then know this, that to get cooled down with this type of heat, you usually need storms like they had in Green Bay, Wisconsin. There were actually wind speeds measured up to 86 miles per hour with the severe storms. Plenty of lightning. This photo from Indianapolis, Indiana. I saw so many shelf cloud and modest photos over the weekend because there were more than 600 severe storm reports from Friday on, all the way to Maine, down into the Tennessee Valley. I mean, pretty much everyone touched by some sort of storm over the weekend, and I think we're going to see it again. But don't forget, this also can come with flash flooding like you had in Colorado over the weekend. Really quickly fills the streets, and then the thing you never want to do because you don't know what's happened to the road, do not drive into it. Because watch this as the tropical moisture pulls up against that front. You're going to have flash flood watches go into place, or already are, from Tennessee and western North Carolina through most of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even a little bit into New York. 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates. Also comes along with damaging winds. So Washington, D.C. today, Northern Virginia, all of Delaware, Long Island there, up to Rhode Island, has to watch for wind speeds in the 60 to 70 mile per hour category when these storms come through. So that's just a look at what's going to happen through the afternoon today, but then after it, this is the result. We finally cool down, and it's much drier too. So when you see an 81 in Chicago and say, well, that's not that cool, the dew points are much lower, so it will feel much cooler than it certainly did. Nashville's average high is close to 90, but they'll only be 82. New York City, high on Tuesday, 74. So some significant change, and I think Marcus, the 6-year-old dog, who was just stifled by that heat sitting in front of the fan, it's going to feel better, Devin.
It's going to feel so good. Our thanks to Ginger Z for that. Now to a new series by our friends at GMA. They're calling it Vanished, a closer look at some of the FBI's more than 420,000 cases of unsolved missing children in this country. Steve Osunsami today has the story of a girl in Missouri, who went missing at 16 without a trace, and the mission her mom has been on ever since.
Devin, there are people in America who go missing every day, but so many of the cases you've never heard of. For these families, it is a lonely fight, and some of them say that's because of the color of their skin. This is the story of a mother in the St. Louis area who is refusing to give up hope.
I still have hope. I still have hope that one day I'm going to find my child.
This is the face of the daughter who Paula Hill wants the world to remember and help her bring home.
She's 8 on here. I wrote her on the back.
She wants people to see her daughter the way she does to this day, a little girl in pigtails.
It's very hard living day to day, not knowing where your child is.
Her name is SHEMIKA COSEY, and the moment she disappeared is burned into her mother's memory.
On December the 28th, 2008, that was the last day that I seen her. And it was a normal day.
You've come back to this neighborhood a number of times.
Oh, yeah.
SHEMIKA COSEY was here, spending the night with her cousins just a few days after Christmas in 2008, when everyone woke up in the morning and discovered she was gone. She was 16 years old, a door was unlocked, and police just outside St. Louis believe she ran away, so they never searched for the girl.
They're not doing anything because they think she gone on her own. I don't know what to do.
This idea that she ran away, you don't believe that?
No. No. I believe she left on her own with someone? Yes. But she was intending to come back. She was not intending to stay gone for 10 years.
Frustrated with police, the family went searching on their own. They posted flyers outside nightclubs where the 16-year-old used to sneak in. Years later, when Paula Hill and her 2 other girls were packing up to move, they found this major clue.
So this is one of her notebooks. Actually,
In these 3 notebooks are her daughter SHEMIKA's handwritten messages from a few months before she disappeared. She talks about a boyfriend and sharing with him that she might be pregnant. Hill and her other daughters have submitted DNA samples to a national registry, praying the records give them a match.
This is her at the family reunion.
Paula Hill gets through the day with a broken heart, but in the time we spent with her, she smiled and laughed the most when she took us through these precious photos of her missing daughter.
Spirit Day. I just need to keep her face out there. I don't want anyone to forget that she's still missing.
Because you certainly haven't forgotten.
Nope.
Please take a close look at your screen right now. These are age-progressed photos of SHEMIKA COSEY. She is now 26 years old and may go by the name of Mika. If you have any information, please call 1-800-THE-LOST or 1-800-843-5678. You can also visit our website for more information on her case, as well as information on those other missing persons who are being searched for by members of her mother's support group. Devin?
All right, thanks to Steve Osinsami for that. If you beat the heat over the weekend, maybe you went to the movies, you caught the new Disney's The Lion King, maybe you caught up with the Avengers Endgame. Well, that movie has now officially become the highest grossing movie of all time. We're learning much more now about what's ahead for Marvel. Our Adrienne Bankert joins us live from Los Angeles. She also got an exclusive interview with the Avengers, Scarlett Johansson. Great to see you, Adrienne. Boy, she is finally getting her own movie after 7 years playing Black Widow. How's she feeling about it?
Well, first of all, everybody who's a fan of Avengers and Avengers Endgame knows it's a really big deal that Scarlett Johansson is now getting that standalone movie, especially after her sacrificial fall in Endgame. But she told me that it really is going to be thrilling for her to play this part from a deeper level. She hopes to delve more into the character, to the humanity of Black Widow, a.k.a. Natasha Romanoff, and just discover with the fans exactly why she is motivated to do certain things, why she has had so many secrets, and what really makes her tick, what she dreams about, Scarlett told me, and what she has nightmares about. So we're going to actually break apart this woman who we've known as really like a kick-butt kind of girl. I'm trying to make sure I use the right wording here. But just break her down into what she was like when she was younger. And I actually, interestingly, have a soundbite to talk about exactly what part of the storyline Avengers will introduce for the Black Widow. So let's listen to that.
I would have been happy to end it at Endgame and walk away. It felt like, I was proud of the work that we have all done together, and that the only reason to do this standalone would be to elevate the genre in some way.
Is this considered a prequel? Is this considered a resurrection? Or is this a comeback?
It's a revelation, I guess,
okay.
of sorts. Take that however it comes out.
That's the perfect word.
Black Widow, a revelation. No, I don't want it to say that at all.
And that sounds very deep, but she really does say that she wants to go deep, digging deep with this character. So I know a lot of fans are very, very excited about that. Comic-Con fans screamed when she walked onto the stage announcing this new movie.
Yeah, fans also really excited about what's ahead for Marvel. At Comic-Con, they announced big plans, a lot coming out up ahead. What's in store?
Well, for those fans who are really in the know, it's the next phase 4 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So for what we're going to see now, we'll see a whole host of new movies, not only in theaters, but also streaming on Disney+. Of course, Disney and Marvel do a lot of business together, to say the least. But we know that Angelina Jolie will be starring in a new movie, The Eternals, and we're going to see a new Doctor Strange movie. Jeremy Renner's character is going to have a new series on Disney+. So there's a lot to see, and that's going to be in 2020 and 2021, and I guarantee you fans aren't going to miss any of it. But very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. Great interview, too, Adrienne Bankert for us in Los Angeles. A lot to come from Marvel. Thanks a lot, Adrienne. Finally, today we head over across the pond for a 6-year-old birthday royal style. Prince William and Duchess Kate revealing this picture of their little one. The palace saying this picture was taken by his mother, Princess Kate. They're celebrating Prince George today. He's 6 years old. Will Reeve is in London for us. So, Will, these new pictures taken by the Duchess, that's sort of a new tradition, right?
Yeah, every year, Devin, we start to see how old these royals are getting. Of course, a keen interest not only in the U.S., but here at home in the U.K. George, this new picture is splashed everywhere. Here's one paper, here's another, here's a third, and I have, 5 more that I could show. That new photo is splashed everywhere across media here, released by his mother, the Duchess of Cambridge. And it is, yes, as you said, a tradition that these photos get released on his birthday every year. And second year in a row that George is reportedly spending his birthday in paradise.
And seen some reports in those tabloids you had there, Will, that perhaps there's a lot of rough housing, maybe some junk food in store for this birthday. What do we know about how he's celebrating?
Well, yeah, George is with his family and his maternal grandparents, the Middletons, on the island of Mystique, reportedly, in the Caribbean. It's a very private island favored by the royals for that reason, and probably because it's an island in the Caribbean. I think that is enough to tip the scales in favor of a family birthday vacation in July away from rainy London, even if it's supposed to be very hot here this week. George is celebrating reportedly by swimming and having ice cream and just generally enjoying life, as 6-year-olds are allowed to and I think supposed to do.
So you're headed that way soon, Will, I take it, down to the birthday beat?
Yes, I am trying to finagle my way, talking to the bosses here, seeing if I can get on a plane to the Caribbean. Not working just yet, but I think I have to stay in London.
All right, keep us posted. Keep us posted.
I will check in if I do get to Mystique, where George just turned 6 today.
All right, Will Reed for us in London. Thanks so much on the 6-year-old's royal birthday today over there across the pond. Will, thanks so much. Finally, a tease here coming up this afternoon, 3:30 Eastern Time on the Briefing Room, our political show here on ABC News Live. We have an exclusive interview with presidential candidate, former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Our Breanna Stewart and Sasha Pesnick caught up with him on a trip to Ellis Island, where he talked about the controversy right now with President Trump and those 4 Democratic congresswomen. Take a look.
This is a moment that is testing America, and we can either succumb to that racism and that smallness, to those walls and to those cages, or we can transcend that and be defined by our ambitions, our aspirations, and in the best traditions of this country that we're seeing right here at Ellis Island or in my hometown of El Paso, Texas. I believe in America. I believe that we are up to this test, to this moment.
And much more from our exclusive interview with Beto O'Rourke coming up 3:30 Eastern Time. Our Breanna Stewart, Sasha Pesnick catching up, spending some time with him this afternoon here on ABC News Live in the Briefing Room. And I will hope to see you then. Thanks for watching The Debrief this afternoon. I'm Devin Dwyer in Washington. We'll see you next time.
ABC News, straightforward.